started in very humble conditions, in poverty situations, and not having a real sense of where I would have the opportunities to go in my life. And early on, I found myself then and now motivated by a desire to escape poverty. I didn't know how I was going to get out of that, except I knew that I did not want to be there. And what I found is that a way for some type of upward mobility was education. And I had to do it also based on the belief that others with whom I associated with were attached to the values that the education system offered, albeit in a racially segregated situation. Values that speak to equality, working hard, staying out of difficulty regarding the criminal justice process, treating other people with fairness. So I adopted those values, but I didn't know how I was going to use them. I just knew that these are the things that I have within me. Based on that foundation, I did well in schools.
You went to IC Norcom High School?
IC Norcom High School, which I call School of Champions of my generation and of my community. And what I found is, in spite of the disadvantages that we all know now, the inequalities in terms of resources in those schools, the opportunity for good quality education were there. And I tried to take advantage of that. And I'm very proud to be associated with the IC Norcom High School of that generation. Very proud of the support system within the school. The teachers were excellent teachers, but I'm aware as well that overlying all of this kind of thing in my life experience has been the notion of racism and how racism has played a part. An advantage to all of that, as it relates to my goal of using education, is that the teachers who were excellent teachers were restricted to that profession because of race. So with that background, struggling through the first years of my life, looking at possible mentors, people that I respected, the main one being my grandfather. He was always generous and always willing to share his little accomplishments with other people. And he accompanied that with an attachment to religious faith, which also adopted from him, attached to the values of the Christian religion. And just jumping over all that, and I want to come back to it. Looking back at that foundation, it led me to the place where you can see here, I am with Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, has been viewed, at least of the last half century, perhaps the most respected political figure in the world. A person who spent 27 years in jail for his opposition to that wrong-headed policy of apartheid. And never knowing that I would ever be in the presence of such a person, here I am with Nelson Mandela. There was a well-known artist in Portsmouth who recently passed away. His trademark was painting ships, and when I was sworn in as United States Ambassador to the Kingdom of Lesotho, the whole community was excited about that. And they say the largest number of non-government people that anyone has seen came to the swearing in from Portsmouth, Virginia. And I was honored in the environment of the celebration that he presented me with this painting on the wall here. And if you look at it, he put my name on the ship. I had the good fortune of being appointed by the United States government to head the United States diplomatic mission in Durban, South Africa. And I was the first African American to hold that position, which started my whole appreciation for what was going on in that region, making that decade, as I said, perhaps the highlight of the things that I have done diplomatically through this period. And of course, related again to my associations with Nelson Mandela. And associated with all this again was the expression of appreciation by the wonderful people in Portsmouth. Among my military decorations is the Silver Star. There's a certificate of the Silver Star there. The Silver Star is the third highest award for heroism in combat, awarded by the United States government. And I have 4 awards for heroism: of the Bronze Star Medal, Purple Heart. I was wounded in combat. Never thought about the military at that time. So I said, well, perhaps I will try that at that time. So I took my chances with the Army. And that's how I started my career. I realized at basic training, because again, we take more tests, that IC Norcom High School had prepared me to be competitive in all these kinds of intellectual things compared to my peers at that time, which gave me some advantages in terms of professional upward mobility. And I learned that with that, I had the opportunity to excel professionally. I just didn't know how to maneuver the whole thing. But I did know one thing that I went back to: the value of education. I wanted to get a university education. So I started at that time taking university courses at night and on the weekends. And by the way, I did that. No matter where I was assigned around the world, I found a way to take these university courses, nights, weekends, for 10 years. I took more courses than anyone had heard of, all at the University. I learned about a program that was viewed as a secretive program that trained selected officers to become regional specialists. That included graduate school, included language training, included what they called in-country training. I mean, just a whole wealth of educational opportunities. I said, hey, this has my name on it. So I had to apply for it. Of course, it was very competitive. And the question was, it trains you to become a regional specialist, but what region? And I decided that the region that I wanted to specialize in was Africa. And I want to learn about Africa from an intellectual point of view. And the short of it is that I got the opportunity, I was selected to this program. I learned Amharic, which is the official language of Ethiopia. I went to graduate school at Syracuse University. I wanted to get a PhD in history, recognizing I had only one calendar year. I set about taking all the courses necessary to accomplish that. At Syracuse, they had never seen anyone do that in 1 year. I taught Ethiopian history to Ethiopian students at the largest secondary school in Ethiopia. Along the way, my reasons for joining the military had been accomplished, and coincided with that was the end of 20 years. So now I can retire from the military. So I did. I began to think about the diplomatic service. I took the Foreign Service examination, passed that, was selected to enter the U.S. Foreign Service. My first assignment was as country officer for Somalia. It was a killing job. Nonetheless, it paved the way for future diplomatic success in the system because it brought me in touch with very important decision makers within the system, not only at the Department of State, but at the White House, at other agencies that had an interest in this topic. I went to Liberia, where I was a political officer at the U.S. Embassy there. At a very interesting time, I arrived there shortly after there had been a coup there, and I was there trying to assist the Liberians in efforts to restore constitutional government. And at the end of that, I realized something, that I've been doing all these things. I've been very successful at them. But I came to the realization that Africa was not, and still is not, at the top of America's foreign policy agenda, although I have a passion for it. So I said, if I'm going to the top of this system, I need to get out of Africa. So to jump over a lot of the hurdles that got me there, I was able to get a job as director for U.S. nuclear strategic policy focused on nuclear testing, arms control at the Department of State. And I headed a working group that did negotiations with the Russians in Geneva. And we did well, and that that brought promotions and more recognition. But my heart was in Africa. The core of what I'm trying to say to you is because I had developed a personal relationship previously that was respected, a shared relationship that got me there. So I had a very successful tour in South Africa. Did things that no one had ever thought about doing in the diplomatic service. The president wanted to nominate me to be ambassador. In South Africa, as a vehicle to assist my connecting with people who, to that point, had little social interactions between them and their ethnic and racial groups because it was prohibited legally by apartheid. But now, apartheid is over legally, so I use my position to help bring people together. And that's when I started hosting Thanksgiving Day programs. Now, Thanksgiving Day is not a tradition in South Africa. So I started bringing people together at my residence. And my idea was to bring people together across their ethnic divides, often for the first time. And I did that on a number of occasions whenever I had the opportunity to get people to put behind these artificial divides. And that worked for me, so I continued that pattern of just using this Thanksgiving thing as a vehicle for doing it. I did it in Lesotho. Again, there was no tradition of Thanksgiving Day there. I did it in Liberia, and I was ambassador there. Liberia did have a tradition. When I returned here and decided to settle here in Chesapeake, I decided to continue with my Thanksgiving Day programs in the local communities. So I wanted to have something where people could come together in a non-threatening environment, enjoy time with their family and friends that otherwise they would not be able to do.
Bismarck Myrick is currently on faculty in the Political Science Department at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, where for the past 20 years, he has served as ambassador in residence and has taught African studies to hundreds of students.
I have come to the conclusion that treating people as I want to be treated works wherever you are. And I started doing that as a young child, back to the values of my grandfather. And that has helped me, I think, have been successful in my professional career, both as a military officer and as a diplomat. So that's kind of a summary of what I've done with this life, and I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to do it.